Hello, Night Nation. Trey Strelko here. Welcome into the Sons of UCF Live. Some breaking news off the top to share with you. Plus, we're catching up on football recruiting with former UCF quarterback Ryan Schneider. And we are answering your questions in the Sons mailbag. Move over, Jimmy Kimmel. There should be a bowl game named after these guys. Let's welcome in the Sons, Adam and Mike, gentlemen.
What's going on, Trace? I think behind the scenes of the Sons of UCF Live here, this is the first time ever that a guest was at the show before two of the hosts. So I can't wait to bring Ryan Schneider in. He's maybe more prepared than all three of us combined. Who knows?
Yeah, I told him that he took more notes today than he did the whole time he was in college. So, and he agreed with me.
I'm looking forward to hearing what is on those notes. Some news off the top. Local 6 here in Orlando reporting that men's basketball player CJ Walker recovering from injuries that he sustained in a jet ski accident in Lake Down near Windermere in Central Florida. It is an accident that Local 6 reports that claimed the life of his 17-year-old cousin, Jeffrey Barksdale, who passed away in that accident. CJ reporting that as well on his social media. As you remember, it was Walker, who we said just a week or two ago, who had thrown his name still in the hat for the NBA draft. So thoughts, prayers, and condolences to CJ Walker. That's some rough news to come out this Thursday afternoon. And no easy way to move along in the show after talking about that. But some big news this week for UCF. And in the terms of a big donation to the university, $40 million donation from Mackenzie Scott, ex-wife of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. I thought at first when I heard big donation, I immediately thought UCF Mike.
Yeah, usually I'm responsible for these. I can't take too much credit for this one. Didn't see it coming, and it just went to random schools. We just happened to be one of the lucky recipients for this. $40 million, we'll take it. But, I mean, this kind of just makes me think, these SEC schools, Big Ten schools, they get this every year just for their TV contract. And we're happy to get it one time. Very grateful, and hopefully we can use it for a lot of good things going forward.
Is there a new Mackenzie in town? Is that what we're doing here? Here's the funny thing, too. I think it's on basically there's no ties to it, right? So it can be used any way the university sees fit. I'm sure there are some stipulations somewhere in the contracts of these kind of things. Curious to see where UCF allots some of this 40 mil. I think that'll be interesting as we follow it, but definitely a generous donation. And $40 million, that's Ryan Schneider money. So that's big time. Yeah.
That's for academics, though. I don't think it can be used for sports, right? It's just for academic pursuits at the university. But still, that's a good donation that can pave the way for others. Not a lot of football news besides, of course, recruiting. But you guys, did you see the video of tight end Alec Holler receiving the full scholarship from Coach Malzahn, breaking it to the team along with him during Wednesday meetings with the team? Pretty exciting moment for him.
Awesome for him and his family. A walk-on. We had a walk-on our show this week in Ronnie Weaver. Those stories are always cool. Guys that just believe in themselves and go all the way and then finally get the full scholarship. You see the reaction. You see him calling his parents and telling them about it. How can you watch that and not get a little emotional?
Yeah, I feel like, though, the announcements have really fallen under Gus Malzahn. I mean, we had Greg McCrae, who had UCF PD come in. We've had other guys under Heupel and Frost. This was just like a, hey, stand up, you got a scholarship. I'm going to need Gus to step it up. I need puppets. I need some sort of circus fanfare next time. We need more fanfare around these announcements. You just can't stand them up in a meeting. We need something else.
Maybe just the finger. Every one of his photos, the finger.
Which one?
He's just always pointing at guys. Seems to be his.
No, he had one of these the other day, which I don't know what he was. Maybe Atlanta. I'm not sure what that was supposed to be. He's got a lot of this. I don't know what's going on. Maybe
horns. That's horns down, right? Was that a horns down?
No, horns down would be this, Trace. It was more of an A situation. I don't know why I'm flashing signs here on the TV. But yeah, I need more excitement out of these next time. I need fireworks. I need something out of this. Come on, Gus.
I think it was an Apopka guy. I think they used the same hand signal as the Atlanta guys. But what do you want? A hot air balloon or something for the next one?
We got $40 million. We can't get one?
We can now. We can get a lot of booms with $40 million.
Boom.
Well, not that kind. We saw the trouble Arizona State's gotten in with recruiting. Let's keep that money away from the recruiting trail. Two former UCF players in the notes for the pros. Yahoo Sports saying Shaquem Griffin might be participating in Broncos mini camp. Of course, I thought he was going to ink with Jacksonville when Shaquille came over to the Jags, and the Chiefs inked former UCF offensive lineman Wyatt Miller. So a couple of guys looking to reconnect in the NFL. I thought Shaquem would be back by now.
Yeah, I mean, you think Jacksonville ends up being a natural landing spot? Maybe he gets a practice squad type invite at some point. He's definitely got the speed. I think as an edge rusher, he proved himself a few times with Seattle in that kind of specialty type role. So you got to think there's at least an option out there to put him on a practice squad. And good for Wyatt Miller. He's bounced around. He was with my Cowboys for a while. He was with the Jets for a while. I think he's with the Bengals for a cup of coffee. So good to see him staying in the league. Obviously, the Chiefs offensive line was a priority for them this offseason after losing the Super Bowl. So perhaps he gets a crack at being a swing type of player off the bench. With Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, it sounds like a pretty good spot for an O-lineman.
I saw an update today. I don't know how accurate it was that Shaquem and the Broncos were not going to come to a deal. So I think he's going somewhere else now. You know me, I hope he lands on the Giants. But anywhere in the NFL, if he can catch on somewhere, he gets a shot somewhere. He can make an impact. Special teams, rushing the passer. You know what his specialties are. And somebody will give him a shot. Hopefully he can prove himself.
Yeah, let's hope for Shaquem that he lands somewhere. Typically Tuesdays on my Twitter @SignPez, I ask a big question that gives us something to talk about on Thursday. And I broke it up over 2 days this week because there's been a lot of talk out of the college football playoff announcement with proposed changes, at least in the UCF Twitter sphere and social media and message boards. How much credit does Mike Oresco deserve? How much credit does Danny White deserve? So I asked that question of Mike Oresco, AAC commissioner. Resoundingly, 86% said just a little. A lot got 14%, but there were a lot of comments like JP Gilbert, our friend JP. You left out a 0% as an option. And at Barning Night, I think UCF did more individually than the conference ever did to promote it. How did you vote? A little or a lot? How much credit does Mike Oresco deserve for this push and the changes that we're seeing?
It's got to be a little, because I don't think that he was the driving force behind this, right? We clearly saw that he did not have the power to get the quote unquote Power 5 commissioners into a room to talk about this. That was obviously something that happened of their own volition. So I think it's a little. And I think a lot of this too is going to be the scars of Oresco not really responding to our national championship claims, really not having UCF's back in a lot of fans' eyes during that period of time. So I think he's going to continue to have the blowback from that. But there's no way you can tell me that Oresco got the other 5 commissioners to do any. I don't think he could probably get them all at the same restaurant at the same time, let alone get them to agree to let him in the playoffs. So I think to say he did nothing is probably foolish, but I think it's he was at the mercy of the powers that be, and I don't know that he was ever going to be able to do much to change that.
We talked about it for years. He never was very vocal when we were going on our undefeated run. Never really had our backs then. He came on Mark Daniels' show last week and he was giving UCF all kinds of credit, naming players all over the place. But where was that 3-4 years ago when we actually needed it? There was a time in 2017 where both us and the Cows were undefeated. Not a peep about us in the rankings and how we should have been higher. They should have been higher. And now now that playoff is out, he wants credit for it. I mean, give me a break. The guy, I don't know about Oresco, man. Some people got his back. Some people have excuses for him. Now, what could he say? He could have said a little more than what he actually did.
That what could he have said, and that he works for all of the universities and the athletic departments, right? Not just for UCF, but he could have embraced UCF more in 2017. And then when it was Memphis's turn or Cincinnati's turn, Houston, certainly he's going to push those. I thought then, I think now that he didn't say nearly enough, and now a little come lately to it. But the next day I asked the question, how much credit does former UCF athletic director Danny White, now at Tennessee, deserve? And I actually am surprised by this, that a lot got 61%, but I would have thought it higher. And it does seem like within a certain percentage of the fan base that once you've left UCF, we saw it with Scott Frost, we're seeing it now with Danny White, perhaps the star diminishes a bit. At UCF_defender saying, I'd only give Danny 100% of the credit personally, but he probably deserves more. By contrast, at Fit to the Max 24, none/0, which of course I didn't offer as an option in the poll, but I'm surprised that the number not higher. I do think Danny White deserves credit for the national championship push in 2017. I'm not saying it leads to everything here and that you don't need a Boise State to have done what they did years ago. But Danny White helped keep that conversation going and amp up pressure on the college football powers.
Well, to be fair, Trace, I think he started that conversation. I mean, I think you heard Boise talk about it in the past, and you heard, some of these teams that have good years, and they would say something and go off quietly. Danny was the squeaky wheel who got the grease, right? He was the guy who made his claim and did not stop, continued to publicize it. Mike's got a banner behind him that is a direct reflection of Danny's claims and what Danny tried to do. So I think he deserves a ton of credit for starting that conversation and not letting it die and continuing it forward. Now, again, he did not have the power to get these 5, 7, whatever the number is, individuals into a room, and I highly doubt they got in the room and say, listen, Danny White's really been talking a lot, we should do something here. But I think he starts the conversation. But I actually want to go back to a comment that Real Night 11 makes here. I think a lot of the second place SEC type teams had much to say about this as well, and I think that there are a lot of other influences, but I think Danny deserves credit for starting the conversation and not letting it die and taking it to the part where it became, he became fodder at times. And he had an article with Mike Bianchi this week where he's like, I'm okay with that. I was perfectly fine being attacked personally. I felt like these kids deserve more. Really self-serving to say that now, of course, but I think he does deserve the ability to say he started this conversation. He kept it going when a lot of others have tried and never succeeded. He
was definitely the loudest voice. And I think the first one I heard call it an invitational and not a playoff. And that's kind of been going around lately with that's what everybody's been calling it. And that's what it is. It's been just an invitational with the committee. We know that the bias they have, the way they set up the rankings. We were never going to get into the top 4, just like Boise was never going to get into the top 2 back in the BCS days. They put them at number 3. Maybe they deserve to be in the top 2 back then. But we know when it comes down to committees that it's always going to be some kind of bias in there. And that's what we've always been fighting for, just a clear path and some way to actually get in. Now it seems like it's opening up a little bit. I'll give Danny White some credit. I think it would have changed anyway. I think money, like everything else, controls everything, and they're going to make a lot more money on 12-team playoff, and that's what it comes down to. So eventually it was going to change, and Danny was just the loudest voice at the beginning.
I just think that it's interesting that some in the UCF Twitter mafia are now diminishing Danny White. You've seen it with the article that our friends over at the Black and Gold Banneret thrown him under the bus on scheduling. He took a gamble on that. It didn't pay off. Does it diminish what he contributed in his legacy at UCF? I don't think that's a fair stance. I don't agree with that stance in the article, though it does appear more needs to be done on scheduling. I just think it's interesting. Does he get diminished a bit because he left for Tennessee? Would that poll be 61-39 if he were still athletic director at UCF? And, you mentioned the Mike Bianchi article. He's still championing UCF. Now, if he could only ink the Home and Home series. You mentioned our guest who was on before Mike and I entered the green room. Why leave him waiting anymore? He is former UCF quarterback Ryan Schneider, head coach at Cocoa High School, who I invited to join us because he and his teams have been participating in these camps now, not only at UCF, but at other schools. And I thought it'd be interesting to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and talk about the experience at UCF and as he travels the state. Ryan, welcome into the Sons of UCF Live, and we're glad to have you on tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, take us into this. What has it been like to be out at UCF from your perspective? You've mentioned on your social media at Coco_Schneider that it's organized, it's professional. Tell us a little bit more about the experience that your kids are having at UCF.
Yeah, we did the 7-on-7 today, and it was extremely organized, on point. Coach Malzahn's done a great job of putting together a really good staff. These guys, they know what it takes to be a college coach. And from Kareem Reed, who's the next player, to, the whole staff, Coach Harris, Coach Kine, they all do a great job, and they're really welcoming. And it was a great experience. Our kids loved it. The one thing, I don't think people realize is because of the COVID situation, college coaches have been on high school campuses for almost 18 months. So we have kids who last time college coaches saw them were 6'1", 230 pounds, who are now 6'4", 280 pounds. So, we're trying to get our kids in front of college coaches as much as we can just to help our guys, reach their goals of going on to the next level.
Ryan, take us inside these camps from your perspective. What's your goal with your kids when you attend a camp like this?
So, honestly, just try to just get them in front of college coaches that they can see who our best players are and that they can start recruiting them. I've been blessed to have a really good staff at Coco. that, I have a good offense coordinator down Franco and a real good defense coordinator, Matt Diesel. And I let those guys run pretty much what we're doing. I pretty much just walk around and talk to the college coaches and make sure they see who we feel like are our best kids, that they can, our running back, our receiver, our quarterback, those are our guys, our linemen, our DBs, these are the guys you guys need to be looking at as college coaches. So, it's been a great experience. Our kids love it. It's awesome traveling around. And just not that, though. It's cool just to really get together with other high schools. There's a lot of other high school coaches that I've never met before who I've wanted to meet, like the guy at Edgewater. I had a good long conversation with him yesterday. And it's just awesome getting together with these guys and really getting to talk to them and pick their brains a little bit.
Ryan, you've taken your team to UCF. You've also been to FSU and UF recently. What are your players' reactions? How do they feel about UCF compared to the other two schools?
In the same category. UCF, the kids know who UCF is, or who UCF are. And the kids respond well to them. There's no drop-off when we go to UCF. UCF is, in their eyes, just as great as FSU, Miami, Florida. The kids are excited to be at UCF, and the kids, it's been a good experience.
Talk about these coaches that you're meeting and the change that you see from the experience that you had with the camp this year to previously under Heupel.
Yeah, Heupel did a good job. There's a lot of coaches at Heupel staff I'm still friends with. You get to know people and you build relationships. This Malzahn seems like he's brought in a group of guys who understand how to really build relationships and understand, what it takes to get, the best players at the school. I will say Coach Malzahn, I think I've had 3 real good long talks with him, and he is very open to ex-players. He's very open just to high school coaches. You can see why he's been successful everywhere he's been. He gets it, and UCF Nation should feel really comfortable about who our head coach is. He's pretty damn good.
Right. In these drills, in these camps, how interactive are the coaches with your players? Are they giving coaching tips? Are they coaching them up, giving them pointers? How interactive is the staff with the high school guys?
So right now you have 2 different things. You have your individual camp. So it's an individual camp, which we did last week. You have your O linemen, B linemen, receivers. You have your positional groups. So break up in positional groups. So our receivers are with the receiver coach the entire time doing drills. Today was a 7-on-7, which was, all DBs and receivers, everyone except for linemen, competing against each other, playing against other high schools. So today, all the coaches at UCF were just floating around much, between games, looking at the kids. It's pretty much just out there, guys competing against each other. We played Homestead today, Edgewater, West Orange. We played a lot of really good high schools and just competing against each other. And, we turn around and Coach Malzahn standing right behind us, watching our guys. Coach Harris, Coach Reed, all these coaches are just standing there watching our guys and really get to see how they compete, and just not how they compete, but how they handle adversity. If the quarterback throws a pick or we have a drop, how the kids are going to handle it. Are they going to be able to keep on progressing and moving forward?
Do you guys get time to actually walk around the campus, or is it kind of just get in, play a little bit, and get out?
It was at their facility. We were in the stadium, in the indoor, and at the practice field, and we walked through the facility. So, like the whole campus now, every camp we've ever been to, we've never really walked the campus, but it's mostly the facility that we're looking at.
You said earlier that you've had a couple of conversations with Coach Malzahn. How does he relate to you as a high school coach? That is a big part of his background. He likes to talk about his roots being as a high school coach.
And he's a, I think it's 15 years high school coach. He knows the grind we go through. He knows the problems that we have. He knows what we do as high school coaches to try to get college coaches to recruit our kids. He understands the day in, day out as a high school coach. And I respect that. It's a grind. He's had success everywhere he's been. It's just a really impressive guy to be around.
Obviously, right now you are a successful high school football coach, and many people remember you hopefully as a successful quarterback at UCF. Take off your coaching hat for a second. Put on a UCF alum hat. How cool is it to walk around campus now, see all the new buildings, see all the new signage? As an alum, how much does that excite you, seeing where things are at now versus where they were when you were there?
Yeah, man, they've really done a great job of updating things. First thing is I remember. You walk into the facility and you have that glass wall of like bricks. And, it was there. Now you walk in, they have a big, huge screen there that's constantly showing pictures. And it's sexier. It's nice. It's updated. You walk through the facility, everything looks clean and updated. And you can tell they do things in the mindset of we want to attract the best players to our school. And that's what you need. As much as you can be the greatest coach in the world, if you don't have the Jimmys and Joes, you're gonna, it's gonna be tough to win games. Nick Saban's a great coach; he does a great job. But they recruit the best and they get the best players, and that's why they're successful. I think Coach Malzahn's gonna bring that same attitude, that same mindset here to UCF.
I saw recently they remodeled some of the football building. They put up some pictures, some classic games. Is there any Ryan Schneider fist pump picture laying around? Some Alabama highlights? Anything?
So this is what I told Coach Malzahn is, I saw Bortles and Murray did the $500,000 donation, right? I told him I don't have that. I can't, I just, financially I don't have that. But I'll give $500 to have like a bathroom stall, a toilet. All I want. But no, there's this. It's. I'm a little bit too old for pictures up in the facility. They got the good, the good pictures, the good looking uniforms on, not the old crappy uniforms we used to wear.
A couple of weeks back on this show, we had Carlos Mackenzie, who's new to UCF, heading up Varsity Knights. What's been your experience with the Varsity Knights and how they welcome back players? Do you see a change? I know he's still new in the position, but a new regime. But what are you sensing about the way they're welcoming back former players?
I haven't really dealt with them that much. Kareem Reed's the next player that I deal with all the time. That's my guy I'm dealing with. But I will say the entire staff and everyone there has been very open to all ex-players coming back, and even one of my conversations with Coach Malzahn was, what any suggestions I had to really, welcome back old players, and, so, yeah, I haven't really dealt with him that much, though.
All right, Ryan, let's be honest for a second. We're all old men on this show here tonight. I have no idea what high school kids are looking for these days. You're closer to them. Obviously, you're there with them every day. What are high school kids looking for today in terms of school? Is it playing time? Is it facilities? Is it brand recognition? What are your kids talking about? What are the priorities for them when they're thinking about schools now?
My guys, it's mostly someone they're comfortable with, someone they can trust, and that doesn't just mean, baby them. Our kids are, our Coco kids are tough. There's nothing soft about Coco, and sometimes a little, tough love is what they need. So in my opinion, our kids, my kids at Coco, their biggest thing is they want to go somewhere where they can trust the coaches, and they know that the coaches will do everything they can to help them become the best player they can be.
Before Mackenzie Milton got hurt, I think he was on pace. He was going to break some of your records there. Right now, we got Dylan Gabriel. He's looked like if he sticks around for 2 more years, your record might be in danger. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, he needs to leave. He needs to leave for the draft next year. No, it was funny. So I guess Milton Gabriel broke the most yards in a game last year, which is my record, and I was like, man. A record lasted, almost 20 years. That's pretty damn good. I mean, hey, it is what it is.
Back to your kids, what do you think of the group that you brought? What do you think their prospects are for college scholarships? Who are the standouts in the group that you brought out to UCF that we might hear from in the future?
Jamari Robinson is a receiver that UCF's offered. He's had a great day today. Our quarterback, Devin Widener, is another kid who, the coaches really like. It's just a numbers game with him. That's one thing, I don't think people realize, and let's talk about that real quick, is, schools have, I think, 85 scholarships, right? So the NCAA, because of COVID, decided to announce last year what to count. So you usually get your seniors leaving, which will open up about 20 to 30 scholarships. Now they didn't leave. So schools are really struggling right now, numbers-wise on the recruiting class. I've talked to a school in state where they said they might sign only 6 kids. So just recruiting-wise, it's been a crazy year. We have an excellent quarterback who I think UCF likes. It's just numbers-wise, I don't know if they're going to be able to take him. But we have some good football players. Tim Passmore, 2 tackles, excellent. Bernard Tony, we have an excellent offensive lineman. Malik Lewis is a really a good DB. Young kids, Darian Walker, Lauren Ward, Xavier Holmes are all young kids that we'll be at. And the big thing for me and as an alumni, as an ex-player, is those kids really responded well and were really interested in what UCF is selling right now.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Obviously, Ryan, one of the other things in the news the last couple of months is this new name, image, and likeness rule that goes into effect July 1, where college students will be able to profit off their name, image, and likeness. How much are high school kids, how much are your team, how much are players talking about, or even do they even know what that is? Is that important to them?
No, they don't care. At least my kids don't. They're worried about what they can do, to get out of their situations. Cocoa, we are it's a rough area, Cocoa. Our kids, we talk all the time, let's change the image of who we are and what we're doing. Let's make sure we are, we're respectful, we're responsible, and we do the right thing. So our kids are really they don't care right now. They're just worried. They just want to go to the school that's going to help them, get their college degree and help change the prospect of their family.
When we were a guest on our show a couple years ago, you called out Kyle Israel and said you could beat him in a foot race. Remember that?
100%. And he's been ducking me the whole time.
Right. Well, I think we found a new event. We've been talking about celebrity boxing this week. I got you among ex-UCF quarterbacks. You're one of the top 100%. Seeds. Which quarterback can you take out?
And what, boxing?
Yeah, boxing.
All of them.
What about Dante?
Dante's a good guy. We wouldn't even box. We would just hug each other. Yeah. That would be a draw. I'd be like, no, we're good. But the rest of them, they don't want that smoke.
Mike, you're big on this celebrity boxing thing. Let us wrap up with this. Ryan, did we leave anything off your notes? Are there any good scribbles there that we didn't touch on that you can share?
I just want to say hi to Lori. That's important for me to say hi to Lori. And if I'm being honest, talking about Coco real quick, is, in the last week, we've been to Florida State, Florida, and UCF. And as a UCF player or ex-player, UCF is in that same category with those other 2 schools when it comes to high school kids. They've done an unbelievable job branding itself and really setting things up that, it's impressive walking around that campus. Now, I'm extremely proud of our kids. In that time span, we've gone 19-4 and won the Florida 7-on-7 championship. And as an ex-player, we should be really excited for what Coach Malzahn is doing and the staff he has built. It's going to be just not a bright future this year, but I think for years to come. And, guys, just jump on board because, we're moving in the right direction and things are really happening. And it's an exciting time right now to be a Knight.
Ryan Schneider, former UCF quarterback. Thanks for joining us on the Sons of UCF Live, and good luck in your upcoming season in the fall.
Thank you so much. Whenever you guys want me, I'm there.
Thanks, Schneider.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Interesting stuff from Ryan Schneider. Not so much interest in name, image, and likeness, but I like to hear what he says that UCF on par with the other schools that he's visited.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Gus effect. I think we talked about this a few shows back. We talk about this all the time. He's a name, and he gets on. He gets kids on campus. They know the name. They recognize him. They know what he's about. They know the pedigree, and it's good to see college age kids that are buying into that from a recruiting perspective. And obviously Schneider, being an alum, I think it pays big dividends. And I think his work carries even more weight because he's even probably more invested in the school than a lot of other coaches would be. And for him to come back and talk about how proud he is of it, I think you got to feel good if you're a Knight fan.
Schneider's a good fan, man. I've had the pleasure of knowing him for a long time, and he was at the Boca Bowl with us recently, right? I've been to other games with him. He really does love UCF, and yeah, I would love to see him put the gloves on and take on Kyle Israel. We're going to set that up at
There we go again with the boxing.
Is that the undercard to the Trace Elo match, or what's going on?
Yeah, Trace and Elo. I heard that, and I'm like just shaking my head. And I'm sorry I misquoted it as celebrity death match. You did say boxing. I took it to another level there. By the way, Elo would be scrappy, but I like my chances.
Here we go.
This is like when you trash talk me before the 5K, and then when I take time to it. Let's set it up. Let's do it.
I think we finished. Weren't we a second behind? I think we're the actual. Weren't we? Yeah, I remember that. I remember those numbers that Jan, Britt, and I.
Elo's watching right now. He just commented, so maybe he wants to get in on the trash talking here.
Well, while you guys ponder that, I think one of the things that Schneider said that I want to get back to that's interesting is not underestimating from a coaching perspective how important a guy like Kareem Reed has been. So he's the director of recruiting, obviously a UCF alum, high school coach in South Florida, went to Atlanta, was a high school coach up there, connects very well with high school coaches. Obviously, he can speak that language. I think not only did Gus find good coaches, I think he was really strategic about his coaching hires and staff hires. And I think you're seeing a guy like Kareem Reed will hopefully pay big dividends for UCF this year and in years to come, particularly with his ties to Florida, with his UCF ties, and obviously his high school background.
Florida and Georgia ties, like you mentioned, those are two huge states that we've always recruited heavily. So, I mean, very good place to have connections.
By this time in the sports year, we're typically through with sports, even with a busy spring, but track and field continues. And though she might be slower than UCF Mike in a 5K, congratulations to redshirt freshman, Renaya Jones, finished second in the 100-meter hurdles in the NCAA championship, earning All-American honors last weekend in Eugene, Oregon. Her counterpart freshman, Ashera Collins, finished 23rd in the triple jump and also earned honorable mention All-American honors. We have soundbite now from the two of them, fresh off that meet in Eugene. And I'll tell you what, they say as freshmen, this is just the beginning.
I'm going to be here again. So this is just experience for me. I know next year coming out here, whether I'm going to Oregon again or Texas, that I'm going to make finals and I'm going to continue making podium finishes.
Definitely coming here next year and just staying focused, keeping my head in the game was a good takeaway that I got from this meet.
They are very confident. Renaya remains out in Eugene, Oregon. Olympic qualifiers this weekend. She'll participate on Saturday. And when you think of what the impact of COVID has had on the program, head coach Dana Boone says, it's amazing what they've been able to accomplish.
Season. That's one of the things that people forget about these two young ladies. We didn't have an indoor season. We didn't have an indoor conference. We had two meets. That's all we competed in. And that was it. So we didn't have the 2 months of preparation before the outdoor season to get ready for this outdoor season.
Amazing, really, right? They don't have the normal preparation, and it was exciting to watch. They did a great job out in Eugene.
Yeah, I just think it's cool. Obviously, the Summer Olympics coming up, and yeah, typically when these things come around, we all get draped in the flag, and to have a UCF name in the mix, somebody who potentially could crack that and get into the Olympics, that would be just a fantastic summer to not only have a country to root for in some respects, but also have a night to root for. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we've had Dahlhauser win some gold medals. How cool would it be to see Renaya get out there and compete with the world's best and bring home another one?
And if not now, the future is very bright for her. And I love her confidence a lot. So track and field continues, and we wrap up grades of the 5 remaining women's sports. This is a question that was posed to us a couple of weeks ago in the mailbag from at UCF1 Big Ohana Eric, who I banter back and forth with direct messaging. Gentlemen, women's soccer, probably the struggled the most with the impacts of COVID.
2-4-1 Trace, winless in their last 5 matches. Obviously, one of those being a tie. I'm going to go with a C.
Give it a D. 2-4-1 is just not acceptable. Bottom half of the standings, not acceptable. We got to have some kind of standards around here. If you want a C, you got to have at least a 500 record, right?
It's just such a small sample size. That's the challenge, right? Only playing a handful of matches.
And they lost players because of COVID.
2 postponed.
So what about all the teams they played? None of those teams lost any players for COVID either?
No, they didn't.
Just to clarify, by the way, the standards that have got to be kept up around here apply to the athletes, not necessarily for the participants in this show. Is that or are the standards high as well?
Hey, I give myself a D also. So what do you want me to tell you?
I'll go C minus because I cannot grade any COVID era sport with a subpar grade. So a C minus. Softball, they took Florida State to the brink up in the Tallahassee regional Florida State, who would go deep in the NCAA tournament. I give them an A. I'll start first. Give them an A.
41-19-1 Trace. They lost in the AAC championship game. Did get to the regional where they lost as well. Beat number 5 Florida twice. Beat number 2 Arizona once. I think Mike set the rule up last week that you have to win the conference or some sort of a championship to get an A. I'm going to throw the rule book out here. I'm going to go A minus because I felt like this team had legs to do a little bit more. So even though they got where they got and it certainly was an exciting season, I will mark them down just a click simply because I think there was more that they could have done.
I'm going B plus. I got to stick to my standards here. Very good season, very good wins in the season. But let's face it, crunch time came. Wichita State had our number. We couldn't beat them in the regular season. We couldn't beat them when it counted in the championship game. Then we get to the regionals, and we get out in the first round. B plus is as high as I can go for that team.
B plus, harsh.
Your dog even disagrees with you. I heard the dog vehemently disagrees with you.
Your grades have gone to the dogs, Mike. Tennis, Adam, roll off the stats. Tennis with a good season.
Glad you asked, Trace. 20-5. They won the AAC, lost in the Sweet 16. So by Mike's standards, this seems to be a favorable year. I'll give them an A. Not going to lie, didn't partake in a ton of women's tennis, but obviously the record speaks for itself. So I'll give them the A, as we learned from Gus Malzahn.
That's right. You win the conference, you get an A. They made it all the way to the Sweet 16. It's almost as far as any other our teams have made it. So I got to go with an A. If they had won a national championship, you get the A plus, but you got to have some room there. But
wow,
very good.
Standards.
Got to win a national championship to get an A plus. I'll go A plus on tennis. I don't subscribe to Mike's grade scale, so I'm going to give him an A plus on that. Track and field, obviously continuing to some extent now with Renaya and the Olympic qualifiers. What about track and field?
I don't know how to grade there, right? Because you look at Renaya alone specifically, and obviously she's had an A plus type season, right? And then the rest of the team obviously has different individual events. Give me an A just because I don't really know what else to do. I'll give them a B, but I think Renaya is kind of a cheat code, so I'll give them maybe an A minus because I don't think they won a major invitational this year. And if we get to the Olympics, I'll give her an A plus plus. How's that?
I actually wrote down A plus because of Renaya.
Wow.
Number 2, right, in the country. She's been fantastic. If she makes the Olympics, how could you not give an A plus? And also Ashira Collins. I mean, she went pretty far too, making it all the way to Oregon. So good season for the two of them.
I will give track and field an A. Volleyball.
16-2, Trace. They won the AAC championship, lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And what I think was a bit of a surprise, I think we felt this team had a little bit more to give tournament-wise, but they did win the AAC, so I will go A minus. 16-2 is a pretty darn good record.
Yeah, I agree. A minus. Winning the conference gets you that A. A little disappointed in what happened in the postseason. We went in with some pretty high expectations, and I think we got beat soundly in that playoff round, didn't we?
Lost to High Point 3-2, right? Wasn't it 3-2? I'm not sure that was soundly.
It was a low point for us.
I don't know.
Gotcha. All right. Took in a lot of questions in the Sons of UCF mailbag this week. Wanted to try something a little bit different with one of my favorite followers on Twitter. Follows on Twitter. He is at 2 letters, 2 words. Robert, an audio question here. Robert, thanks for hopping on the Sons of UCF Live with the first question in this week's Sons of UCF mailbag. Fire away, sir. What do you got?
Honored to have the first question. We've always talked about, all of UCF fans have talked about getting into a bigger conference. And then the question is, is the, how did those conferences view us from a value standpoint? And with the playoff expansion, I wonder if that changes the tolerance or desire for changing conferences.
Adam, you go first.
Yeah, so I think the question is a good one, and the answer is probably one simple word, Robert, and that's money. So now the access is probably a little bit easier than it's ever been, but we can't turn down a $40 million type style check. I mean, we're ecstatic when we get that from Mackenzie Scott and a donation. Mike's point earlier was the SEC gets that for having Vanderbilt and Kentucky on at 7:00 on a Saturday on ESPN2, right? So I think if we can get that type of check, I think that's the reason you don't turn it down. Now, does it give us the opportunity to be a little bit more selective? And, if there's a conference that we're not comfortable with or we don't like where we are, could we maybe play hardball? Maybe. I think the access there, but I don't think we can turn down that money.
Yeah, if given the opportunity, UCF will take the money. But as a fan, I mean, I'm not getting that money. I want to see my team in the playoffs every year. If being in the American guarantees me that every season, selfishly, I'd rather take that, but I know that's the wrong answer, and it's not what would happen. But I would die to see if the Cows made the playoffs every year, and we were stuck in the Big 12 not making it.
What did you just say?
Whoa.
Although I think, Mike, you could kind of meld those 2 points, because I think maybe the timing is important. If we put it off and we play a little bit of hardball, and we're in the playoffs every year consistently and winning a couple of rounds every year, then our perceived value and the perception of the program has to go up, making us more valuable and giving us a better position.
That's right. Maybe instead of the Big 12 coming knocking, maybe the ACC comes around and knocks on our door. Heck, maybe the SEC. If we go into the playoff and we beat Auburn a couple of times, we beat the Gators up. Who knows? Maybe the Gators won't have as much say to keep us out.
There's the wild speculation.
Let me turn a question around on you, Robert. Right before this announcement of proposed changes to the college football playoff, we were having that typical summer speculation of with the AAC expand, Boise State, the names. Do you think this has tapped the brakes on this a little bit, that maybe they're comfortable going with 11?
Well, I think there's a time limit on 11. I think they're going to be comfortable as long as they let them do it. At some point, I think that the committee is going to have to come up with a criteria for determining how you legitimately crown your conference champion, because people are already talking about getting away from championship games so that you can possibly get two teams in. So I think it's gonna. That kind of stuff's going to have to kind of depend on how this recommendation becomes policy eventually.
Let's keep you on for one more question. You get to play in this round. By C.A. Simmons, asking, as you would expect from Christian, who's very into the UCF uniform scene, what was the best uniform combo worn by a recruit that you've seen? I'm just going to say anything space related. They have really glommed on to anything space related.
Yeah, I'm with you on the space thing, especially the moon helmet. Put that moon helmet on anybody, it takes you to the moon.
I'm gonna go old guy in the on the lawn situation. I'm gonna go. I like when we do the traditional like black and gold concepts, right? Because everybody likes the flashy uniforms, and those get a lot of eyeballs. But if you tell me a kid who will wear just a plain old black and gold uniform, that's a night through and through. Robert, you've seen too many games where all we had were 2 jersey colors, 2 pant colors, and 1 helmet color. So we get a guy who's willing to go throwback style and embraces that. There's a sweet spot for that in my heart. I get why they want to wear the cool stuff. I would want to do it too. But as the old guy, I kind of get a little bit of a sentimental cheer whenever I see someone willing to kind of take it a little old school and go strict black and gold.
Love that.
Bring back the old gold jerseys, the Kevin Smith era, right? One day that's going to come back and it's going to be popular again. It's not, maybe not now, maybe 10 years down the road. Mark my words.
Who's marking this? Is anybody marking this down?
Keeping track of that. Robert, I'll let you know I booked my Southwest flight to Dallas for the SMU weekend. If I don't see you before then, I will hope to see you in Dallas for that. And I know you'll be at games road and home. What's the tailgate spread you're thinking of for your next UCF home game?
Well, because I'm flying from Dallas, I can't do too much in terms of tailgate, on scene. So I kind of just, make myself home at others. How about put it that way?
But when we're in Dallas, is there some brisket?
Yeah, we're gonna do a party in Dallas, and I expect all of my Twitter friends to be there, especially you three.
There we go.
Road trip. We're doing a remote.
Beef ribs and everything Texas.
All right, Mike, pack the signs. Let's go.
All bigger in Texas. He is at 2 letters, 2 words. Robert, thanks for being the guinea pig on this Sun's Mailbag live remote.
Honored, sir. Honored.
Thanks,
right,
Robert.
we appreciate you. Thanks much. Let's continue on with the mailbag. Our friend Brian W. Peterson, playing off of Christian's comment about uniform combos, asking, does UCF's recruiting seemingly use the heavy use of the space game uniforms for recruiting photos? Does he thinks does it indicate a shift to Citronauts? I think this is influenced by J.P. Gilbert.
Look, I said this on the show this week. Mike and I did our big 3 of reasons to come to UCF. And my top reason was UCF's innovation and creativity. And I think uniforms are a space where they have, no pun intended, actually, where they've really dominated. I think they've won Uniform of the Year in the Uni Swag poll the last 2 or 3 years. So I think they will probably continue to try to find ways to weave in some of these things. But I think the Citronaut is cool because it's not a full-time thing, right? It's a one-time deal. It's a cool opportunity. If you wore the same helmet every week, then it doesn't become cool anymore. I think that's the way the kids think about it. So do I think that there's more opportunities to integrate this stuff and to sort of be a unique uniform set at times? I do. Do I think it's going to be our full-time set? Probably not. But if you want to break out the old, Citronaut style uniforms with the kazoo looking green guy with the helmet on or whatever, I'm in for that. But I think it's, I don't know that it can be a full-time gig.
I don't know if UCF is pushing this uniform on all the recruits that come here. I think they give them options, and all these kids are choosing the space uniform over the other ones. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe once they start seeing old guys wear it, maybe if we start wearing the Citronaut stuff, it's not cool anymore. Kind of like when Belding put on the buddy bands, and how defective Belding's wearing one. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you.
Did anybody else pick up that Saved by the Bell drop Mike had, or no? Just me? Okay.
It's cool for now.
With your kids, have you focus grouped the Citronaut? And if not, will you? And report back to us next week. What is their opinion? You got a mix of ages there. What are their opinions of the Citronaut?
My kids love Nitro. I don't know. I don't think they even know what the Citronaut is. I think they've seen me with a couple of Citronaut shirts, but they never really bring it up. They're big Nitro fans. And today's mascot day, by the way.
Happy mascot day to Nitro.
Yeah, my daughter, the 13-year-old, doesn't understand anything, so she's just like, it all sucks. My little guy, he's about to be 9. He's a little bit more into it. He's a little more confused. He's got a lot of questions. Wait, why are they the Knights? This guy's orange. I don't understand that kind of stuff. So I have to explain that to him. I think he actually has a Citronaut shirt. I have to fact check that. But I don't know that it really matters. But it's interesting. We asked Ryan Schneider. Sorry, Trace. We asked Schneider kind of the whole, that whole concept. And again, from his kids specifically at Coco, his answer was basically like, they don't care what they wear. They don't care what they wear, where they play at. They just want to play. Now, I don't know how many kids are in that same vein, but that was an interesting answer to give. That we're over here thinking that uniforms make a big deal and name, image, and likeness. And Schneider basically said like, no one talks about that. So maybe we make more of it than
name, image, and likeness, but they still like bells and whistles. I mean, he talked about the new look in the field house and the recruiting areas. So there's still some of that bells and whistles. At @Sublime_Night, if you could add one question to the screening process for forming the new playoff selection committee, what is it? I think that's a tough question right there. Is it something involving tank tops, Mike? Anything involving tank tops.
I'd ask what their views are on UCF's national title claim in 2017. Do they think that's a legitimate claim? If they say it's not legitimate, right away they're out.
They're out.
They're out, not considered anymore.
Yeah, I don't even really know. What are the current questions? Does anybody know?
No.
Oh.
How much money do you
It's an
donate to
open
the SEC?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is from a committee standpoint, and I don't know if this is a committee-based question, but what'll be interesting is to see how the committee changes their rankings 5 through 12, because frankly, it just didn't matter before, right? Like, I guess 5 and 6 mattered a little bit, but 7 through 12, who really cared? I feel like they just kind of, drew straws. Are you going to see a 9-3 Arizona get the 12 seed over,
Arizona, not
Arizona State, yes, over like a 10-1 Boise or something. I think that'll be interesting to see. I think Mike's right. The question will be, how much money do you guys bring to us?
At blackgold_ed, if you were in charge of the lobby's video board in the football building, what would you put on it that would 100% lock in a recruit?
This is a tough one. I know, obviously the video board, I think being repurposed is a fantastic idea. I think you got to go with a highlight would be my guess that you'd want to go with. Maybe the Mackenzie Milton touchdowns, maybe a Dante highlight, maybe some of the, maybe one of these Dante, situations. So I think you go big time highlight, but I think Mike has a really good answer for this one.
My original answer would have been that this place video that UCF put out, it's about a 3-minute clip. It has highlights like you're talking about all throughout UCF history. But sometimes you just got to do a little negative recruiting, right? And one of my favorites is getting on the cows. And Adam's got the clip right here. I mean, you bring in a recruit, you see this is what it's like if you go over to South Florida. And these are the fans that are going to be sitting in the stands rooting for you. Look, booger eaters. Yeah, it takes it right in, look at that. Straight in the nose, dig all the way in there. Right? Oh, look. That looks like a nice little snack. And then, boom, right in the mouth. Just a disgusting group of people.
Freeze it.
There it is.
We don't need to see more. Oh, hello. It's a family show.
Lunch.
Goodness sakes.
I always feel like body paint's a terrible idea, by the way. Why do people try that? Body paint's a terrible idea. Mike, I feel like you've done body paint at some point, no?
No, I never have, actually.
Yeah, okay. If you did, would you paint in a tank top type shape? Is that what we do?
You gotta support the team, like putty.
Good Seinfeld reference there. I would say that with all of the video technology, that the plays we see, say Mackenzie Milton's, all of his famous plays, I would take the quarterback recruits and I would superimpose their face on his body, and I would give them that idea that will be them making those sorts of plays one day. And I think they have the technology to do that.
You probably have to pay Mackenzie for that. That's probably a name, image, and likeness violation.
Not yet. 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks. They don't have to. At Mike WEI55, he's referencing Mike Oresco talking about the AAC possibly not needing the same urgency to expand at 11. What do you think? We talked on it a little bit with Robert. Do you think this backs off the need to bring in a Boise?
I think it depends on the NCAA. I trust the NCAA to make good decisions as much as I trust Mike to grow a full beard. It's just not going to happen. So I think the challenge becomes, at what point does the NCAA come up with some random rule that you have to have 12 teams to get in one of these automatic spots? I think Oresco can say for now he wants to stand pat. What I hope he doesn't do is go and rush and say, let's bring Colorado State into the mix just because he wants to add a 12th team. Hopefully he has the ability to be selective now. But I don't know how much he'll get to dictate versus, again, I trust the NCAA very little to come up with some random rule that will expunge a team who's in this conference because we don't have the required number of members or some nonsense. So I think for now, stand pat, but I wouldn't be surprised if his hand's not forced just because the NCAA can't be trusted.
Well, we're already working on some kind of waiver right now where we can play this thing with only 11. I think technically you're supposed to have either an even amount or I don't know if the number is 12, but it's supposed to be balanced with divisions in order to have a championship game. And so far we're getting away with it for a couple of years. That may not last long. And especially if it comes down to getting one of these playoff spots, I don't trust the NCAA at all.
I say instead of at Boise, kick out Tulsa. Nobody wants to go there. They're a problem for UCF. Then that'll be even at 10. Let's end with buddy Jim Hadaway. He says, isn't it time to stop being nice and recognize the Ginger is way hotter than Marianne? Ginger versus Marianne. That's our final question in this week's Suns Mailbag.
Shameful admission. Never seen a Gilligan's Island episode. I have no idea.
Really?
Yeah.
You know who they are, though.
I did not enough. Yeah, not enough to have done any research here. So shameful admission. I don't know. Jim Hadaway seems like he's a pretty straight shooting guy. I feel like he's got a good solid head in his shoulders, a really good beard. So I believe him if he's saying that Ginger's hotter. I don't have no reason to doubt Jim. I
actually never watched Gilligan's Island either. When I saw the question, I Googled some pictures yesterday of the two. I could see the attraction to Marianne. She's a very, very attractive girl. I think Ginger long term held it together a little longer. I know they're both like in probably their 80s if they're even still alive.
Marianne, the actress that played Marianne, recently passed away, but Ginger's in her upper 80s.
Right.
Yeah. Next time, Jim, get a Kelly Kapowski question. I think it's more up our alley.
Yeah, exactly. Which one? Let's ask Adam because he's a big fan. Which 90210 girl? Who's your favorite?
So we bringing back Brenda.
Damn.
We keeping Valerie involved. I'm gonna go season 9, season 10. We brought in Donna's cousin Gina. I think actually Gina may take that one for me.
That's right, she's good. And you mentioned Kelly Kapowski. She was on there too. I forget her name.
But she bulked up for the winter in some of those season 6, season 7. I think she was hitting the HGH.
All right. Thank you. I go with Marianne. I have no particular opinion on Beverly Hills 90210. I'm familiar with it, didn't watch much of it, and saw a little of the reboot. So.
Gilligan's Island was all in black and white.
This is why I love Mario. Mario knows what he's talking about. If I could, Mario, I'd send you a second ad. Fun fact, Brian Austin Green, David Silver married her. They have a kid together. Then they got divorced. And then he married Megan Fox. And Brian Austin Green, surprisingly, not doing bad for himself.
I told you he knew his 90210 stuff.
Yeah. Maybe Mike needs to get Brian Austin Green a hat. There needs to be a celebrity that dons one of these hats.
Well, I'm really upset.
Schneider has one. He's worn it before. I'm surprised.
And I was expecting it to be on his head tonight, and it was not.
Yeah, I chose not to wear my Schneider jersey just because of that too.
Good call. I put a Dante just to rub it in. I went with Dante.
You pre-retaliated. You knew you wouldn't wear the hat, so you
retaliated. Yes.
All new Sons of UCF pod this week. No From the Vault guests. A brand new guest. One Ronnie Weaver, episode 136.
Ronnie Weaver Jr., just a good story. I mean, I don't know if folks remember. He kind of gets lost in that three-headed monster running back shuffle that we had for a while there with Latavius Murray, Brent Harvey. What's funny is if you look at the stats, each of them really had like their season where they were the bell cow back for whatever reason. But you got to love a story. Walk-on guy. We kind of asked him, hey, there's a couple seasons, couple years, couple games. You didn't play much. Like, what happened there? And he was like, that's what the team needed. That's what I had to do. Special teams. That's what they asked me to do. So you got to love and respect a guy who was just a true knight through and through. So it was good to catch up with him. Again, he might have had the most eye-popping statistical years of UCF, but he was a big part of some of those teams, particularly that 2010 team. I think he was the leading rusher that year outside of Godfrey. So it was good to have him on the show.
Yeah, maybe a name that gets lost with Latavius Murray there, and even Brent Harvey would put up over 1,000 yards. But you're right, 2010 was the best season in that era, and he was the main guy.
Eric Lopez, very prolific with the comments during tonight's show.
Yeah, Young Kelly was a good option. Elo, I'm not going to lie to you there, but I don't know. Yeah, towards the end, I'm not sure what happened there.
You can find the Ronnie Weaver interview wherever you get content.
Are we going to do a 90210 podcast? Is that where we're doing?
I feel like you're ready.
Elo, do you want to get in? I mean, let's just we'll offshoot here. Two Nights Media at the 90210 podcast.
I was just about to plug 2nightsmedia.com where you find things. Of course, we appreciate your 5-star reviews. Mike's chomping at the bit to give away a hat again, so maybe a fresh review or 3 would be nice. 5 stars only, please. And we appreciate the questions that came in the mailbag. Really appreciate Ryan Schneider being prompt ahead of Mike and I in the queue and waiting for us to be prepared for this show. And Robert for hopping on with us. I like that idea. Bring on a different viewer, fan every week to throw us.
We have another co-host. Nelson's letting us know Libby is in on the 90210 show. So we may have
on the 90210 show, or she wants to be one of our guest questioners. I haven't heard from Libby in a while.
I don't know who Fast Luck Style is, but he or she is in.
Seems like there's an audience for this. I mean, we already do 2 nights a week. It might have to be a third. And
by audience,
Schneider's doing
that's
another
5 people, just so we're counting at home. But I'm all in.
Oh, guys. Well, count me out on that one, but you enjoy doing that show with Nelson and Libby and others. So
Elo.
I want to thank Elo. I want to thank, he's got nothing to do now. Softball's over. He's got
a big fight that's coming up.
Wow.
This week. That's right. Putting the gloves on in the parking lot at the Boise State game. Trace, Elo on the undercard. Jeff Sharon, Brendan Helwig, main event, and maybe even Schneider versus Kyle Israel. All details will be coming to you soon.
Is this in your $24,000 tailgate tent? Extravaganza? That's your $75 for a bag of chips. It's like a hospital stay is what you got planned over there.
I'm only charging $15 for a 12-ounce Bud Light. So get ready.
Do a live remote of the 9020 podcast that is quickly gaining steam here in the chat.
Never know where these shows are going to go. I want to thank Robert. I want to thank Ryan Schneider for being with us, and thank you for watching. Adam, Mike, as always, a good time. Trace Strelka signing off for the Sons of UCF Live. Go Knights.
Charge.